Topic Podcast, where the only rule is to stay on topic and no topic is off limits. My name is Lo.
My name is Shad.
And I'm Cam.
And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the Capitol riots that occurred on January 6, 2021. So,
As I call it, Capitol terrorist attacks.
yes, by the Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla ISIS.
So we've had some weeks, y'all. Like these first couple weeks of 2021 have been just as much of a mess as 2020.
I thought the first 5 days went well.
They weren't bad.
Yeah, I was enjoying it.
It's just
Yeah.
the 6th.
So not that I think anyone needs a refresher of what happened, because obviously, like that's going to go down in history. And
I think you should give them a refresher.
no, I'm gonna give the refresher.
Oh.
I was just leading with that.
I'm like, it's like January 20th.
So on the 6th, a bunch of Trump and MAGA supporters, following his sort of charge and encouragement, marched to the Capitol when the votes from this free and fair election, I will say, like there has been no substantial evidence of voter fraud or tampering. So I will say that. So this is when the elections or the electoral votes were to be, and the results of the elections were to be certified.
Right, the Congress was going to certify
Correct.
the election results.
And so, essentially, and I'm paraphrasing here, Donald Trump was having a talk, right, and told all his supporters, mind you, this was planned. It had, like, before his talk even happened, it was already underway.
Well, they had
But
enough to
he
get
really,
there.
yes, he really incited this crowd and let them know, like, hey, we need to march there and do what? I don't know what they thought they were going to do, but they were scaling the walls, they were breaking down windows, they were armed with weapons, they had pipe bombs.
Attacking officers.
They were attacking officers. As a result of all of this, I believe 5 people
4 or
died.
5.
2 of them were officers, correct?
I don't know the breakdown of.
I know at least 1 officer died,
Mm-hmm.
who was defending the
Capitol.
Congress people,
The congressmen.
men and women, and
I'm sorry.
yes, the Capitol.
Congress
And then
people.
specifically, there was a woman who died, who was shot by one of the Capitol police officers, I believe, as she was trying to break into.
Somebody's office?
Was it Nancy's office?
I don't think it was her office, but it was where
It
there
was a
were
Nancy
congressmen
office.
and women congregating.
Or like sheltering.
Or
from
sheltering,
yeah.
right, exactly. Not
You
congregating.
know, I'm like, they just hanging out?
Sheltering,
Uh-huh.
and she was shot, and then so following that, there were a lot of debates about that whole event, how it even got to that point, how had those people looked any shade of brown darker than what they are, they probably would have been shot down before
Right.
they even got
If
close.
they had a
Got
cup of
to the
melanin, they would have been
downstairs.
popped.
But we
Yeah.
saw videos of officers literally letting
Open
people
the
through,
gates.
opening the
Like
barricades,
they was Moses.
taking photos with them, which I have heard since then. You know, there's been some folks who have been fired. I believe the chief of the Capitol Police resigned or stepped down, and
A whole slew of people resigned.
a lot of stuff has happened since then. So I guess I'll go back to about whether or not you think the situation would have played out differently had it been any other group of people.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The situation would have been totally different. I'm like, throughout this whole pandemic and the protest, what do you want to call it? A protest, a riot, a terrorist attack. People use, even though those are 3 different words.
This Capitol.
No, any of them, like in the Black
I'm like,
Lives
'cause
Matter.
that was a terrorist attack.
Exactly.
If you ask me.
But if you ask somebody else who don't
Yes.
think that, they will call the Black Lives Matter movement a terrorist attack. So,
And the whites will call what they did a protest.
Right.
So what I'm saying is we have seen these situations play out very differently, depending on the color of the skin of the individuals who are out there fighting for what they believe is right.
Right. And
Even in the same city.
Right. And I was gonna say, like the saying we've heard applies here is that racism is so American that when you're protesting racism, it seems as though you're protesting America, which is why I believe some people saw
good
those
one.
Black Lives
Yeah,
Matter
yeah.
protests as a threat, like and as terror,
Mhm.
as a terrorist act because you're going against America.
in the status
It's
quo.
so ingrained into
The
our
fabric
philosophies
of our
and
society.
of the fabrics of our society that for a lot of people is more threatening than what this ridiculous display of like white fragility was that we saw a couple weeks back.
Right. When people feel as though they're going to lose something, or especially power, they act out. And if we witness that on TV,
On full display.
it was full display. So, are we shocked? No. We not. I'm not shocked by any of. I'm not shocked by what the Trumpers did.
Well,
I'm-
I am
Trumpers.
shocked that white lady got shot in her goddamn neck.
Who shot her?
One of the
one
Capitol
that- yeah.
Police officers.
What
or
race
something.
was he?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think he. I mean, I
If
saw.
he was
I saw-
black, would
If
you?
he was black, I wouldn't be surprised. 'Cause I would have shot her ass too. But look, I'm gonna keep.
No,
it
but
up.
to Cameron's they were doing their job. If you're trying to break in, you guys have weapons and
Yeah.
pipe bombs. Like
Mhm.
that's a serious threat. Like
That's-
that's an actual.
hostile intent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
He the one who did his job.
Right. Cause you gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I mean, honestly, like
My question is, I don't know what she was doing that made her doing something different than
Than
everybody
than
anybody
everybody else. That was unclear
Like
to me.
it was like some big old white men with like big guns and stuff, and I'm like, pop one of
yeah,
them.
you should have
Yeah.
shot that nigga.
Right, we
Right.
all know we talking about. He had the whole.
The whole like horns. or something.
Yeah.
I'd have shot that nigga too.
I'm like, oh, he's scary.
Right. It was a video on Instagram where the black cop was like running up the stairs.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all he had was a baton.
Right.
And I think he was like leading them away from where they were
Uh-huh.
hiding.
And he led him to other police officers.
Yeah.
Leave it up again
And
to black people
to do
being
their fucking
a
job.
hero at all times.
With a baton. Why? How you Capitol officer with a baton? Ain't got no. Why he don't got no weapon?
I don't
Was
know.
he a
That
Capitol
could-
officer?
He was some type of. He was in the uniform.
That's what I
was
thought,
he security
yeah.
guard? I think security guards there should have weapons too.
Right.
If it's
What's
a
the
place
point?
of a national caliber, he needs a weapon.
Right. And he still had a mask on.
Right.
He did.
Uh-huh.
I told us it was gonna be a whole little movie because there was probably some shit that went down that we weren't even privy to.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was
It was entirely too much, and like just to see the aftermath of like how all this is playing out has been like so enlightening. As
one
well.
question. Sorry, I do want to ask about the particular event was because it's a current topic in regards to whether or not they can invoke this like 25th Amendment,
Mm-hmm.
impeach Trump again, get him out of office, yada yada yada, and what sort of responsibility he holds in what carried out. Like, do you think he is responsible for what happened?
That's a good question.
My answer is yes.
I'm gonna say the same thing that Nate said about Kanye. When you're in a position of power and have influence over that many people, you have to be mindful of what you say. And in that regard, yes, he is responsible.
Yeah. So I do. I like him and all the people, the constituents, the Senate people who was at the rally who spoke, and some of the rhetoric they were using, like take back our country, do whatever it takes to do X, Y, and Z. I think you hold some blame in that, and also because of the fact that you didn't like stop it early enough either.
Yeah.
Like you weren't tweeting stop like you guys like this isn't the right thing to do, like people's safety matters, things like that. None of that ever happened.
Yeah.
So also just standing by, and you were what, down the street?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they probably moved him at that point.
Yeah.
But you somewhere you can like easily stop this. I believe you do hold some
I
responsibility.
mean, by the time they actually showed the little recorded video of him, it came after President-elect Biden like gave a speech on TV, and then he comes on and he's still like saying, this election was stolen, it was fraudulent. So he did nothing to put out the fire. He just
adding
added fuel to the
Okay.
fire.
Mm-hmm.
And the same can be said for a lot of these. I don't even want to use the word reporters because a lot of what we're seeing nowadays is not actual reporting
Mm-hmm.
of any sort of facts or
News anchors,
whatever, political correspondence.
political pundits.
Yeah, exactly. Who have continued to allow that to sort of like take over the news waves of like all this. Oh, there was hundreds of thousands of ballots thrown into the river, and all this like
It's like
baseless claims that
Yeah.
are feeding into these people's like
mine.
irrational
Fucked up
minds and
psyches.
telling them that
Yeah.
yes, this was stolen from us. They really thought they were being, patriots and like saving the country, but doing the exact opposite. Like it was a terrorist attack, and like we said, had anyone else been doing it who was brown, who
Shot on sight. They wouldn't have made it past. The cops wouldn't have opened little barricades. In general, so they wouldn't even made it that far. They would have had riot gear, SWAT, National Guard out there, way before any of that shit would have ever went down.
yes, I agree. So same subject, but let's fast forward a bit to like all of the downstream effects of that
Mhm.
particular event. So for the past 4 years, Trump has been saying a lot of crazy, outlandish, insightful, hateful things on his Twitter account, right? We've seen him say things like, and he's actually said them out of his mouth too. Like in the debates, we saw him saying "Stand back and stand by" to the Proud Boys.
Mhm.
We've seen him tweet things out like, "Oh," or I don't know if he said it and then tweeted it or tweeted it and whatever. But when the looting starts, the shooting starts in talking about some of the Black Lives Matter protests and like the resulting some of things, buildings were burned down and windows were broken into, whatever. We've seen him do and say things like that, but it was not until this Capitol riot where companies just said enough is enough, and they took him off their platforms.
Mhm.
So I mean, at this point he's banned from Facebook, Twitter,
Snapchat, YouTube,
Google, which I'm
Google.
assuming is probably ads, YouTube,
Spotify.
Snapchat, all this stuff. TikTok, which was
Reddit.
that little reverse.
You try to ban them?
So he's banned from
Pinterest.
all
Yeah.
these platforms now, and that has brought up this debate where I don't really feel like it's a debate because it's just its
This is
basis is
debate.
so okay. So this debate about First and protecting the First Amendment right and
Mhm.
censorship and things like that,
Mhm.
and whether or not these companies should be allowed to ban people from their platform. So I'll start with one. They're private companies. So the First Amendment right does not apply here. They have every right.
So what is the First Amendment right?
Okay, so I'm going to read it verbatim. Give me 1 second.
Yes.
One.
So the First Amendment
Oh,
states...
you was ready. I like
Is
that.
it 1 second?
So the First Amendment states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So this whole like separation of church and state.
Mhm.
Or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of people peaceably to assemble or to petition the government for redress of grievances. So in layman's terms, it protects the freedom of speech, religion, and press. And this is from the government.
Mhm.
It also protects the right to a peaceful protest and to petition the government. And this is always like
Keyword peaceful.
Mhm.
right. So obviously those Capitol riots not peaceful at all.
I mean,
But-
but some would say the Black Lives Matter movement's protests weren't peaceful either.
Yeah, some would argue that, but the argument there, so they take a small group of people who are doing bad things and apply that to the entire group, whereas in this particular case, it was
It was
hella people, if not the majority, if not all of
All
them,
of
doing
them, yeah.
wrong things, and they tried to take that and really whitewash it and say that it was only a select few, but there was hundreds of people in the Capitol.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yes, I agree that people
Yeah.
do make that argument. So, going back to this whole First Amendment issue, so there was a lot of people on the right saying, "Oh, look at this! This is censorship. This is showing how big tech is getting all this power, blah blah blah. And then there's other people not so far right, like Carrie Hilson, saying outlandish things also, like, oh, you have to be aware of this is like the first step, peak game sort of thing, take Donald Trump out of it, but this is censorship or whatever. No.
Why?
No, because one, Facebook, Twitter, these are all private companies. They have terms of service. If you violate them, they have every right to remove you or ban you from their using their platform. People get banned from platforms all day long, and they're nobodies.
Well, they are like public companies.
Yes.
You said private.
No, but I mean, like, this is not a government-run company. That's
Right.
what I mean.
Yeah. But also, like, the reason I'm like stress the word public is that I'm pretty sure they had a conversation with all their board members and things like that, because like stock prices went down for one of these, like for Facebook or Twitter.
I know it went up for Tesla though.
But the stock prices went down after they banned Trump from it. So of course, they would have to talk to their board members. So I'm like, it wasn't just like Mark Zuckerberg being like, take Trump out.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was. I'm pretty sure they had to talk to all the people who invested in the company at these like high dollar amounts to be like, what we gonna do, y'all? I'm pretty sure all the other rich white people was like, take his ass down.
Yeah.
And they probably voted for him too. But I'm like trying to like draw like a correlation.
I think it was
between-
definitely less risky to ban him from their platforms at this point in time.
Right.
What was your other question? You asked why that didn't apply. So yes, okay, so this is not, and you're also not, insightful language and stuff like that is not protected by the First Amendment.
Right. It's like peaceful.
And that's what he was doing, was inciting people to be violent and to try to overthrow the government.
Right. So why do we think so as of today, like Nancy and Co. like try to like impeach Trump again, but the Republicans, like not all of them agree with her.
Yes.
So why do you think that is?
I mean, there's some of them who don't agree with the fact that there was a fair and free, that, and it was a fair and free election. Like they really in their
heart of
minds,
hearts,
yeah,
they think it was rigged. But I mean, I just think that just stems from them losing power and being the oppressor versus the oppressed, as they might want to call it, but they aren't.
Right, because I'm trying to like justify it in my mind. Like if someone's like coming to like attack me, then I would be like, F all y'all.
but they were on the side. They were like on their.
No, but they wasn't like still there. It was like y'all good. Like they still ran and hid in the bunkers with the rest of them. I just don't see like in what world that they wasn't like fearful of their lives as well.
Yes.
Like a pipe, like bombs and bullets have like no names on them.
Yeah, no
I
loyalty.
agree.
Right. So like, I'm like, if this ain't no loyalty here, I would have been like impeach his ass.
Yeah.
Right.
Because even though like we all know like a lot of Republicans don't agree with Trump either. I'm like
But if you're getting something out of it, go ahead and do what you do. And I feel like that's what it has been.
I mean, he been throwing people in his cabinet and who he worked with under the bus his whole goddamn term. And then the shit he said about Mike Pence before the shit in the election in Georgia, he was like, if Mike Pence don't get this done for us, then I'm not gonna like him as much.
Speaking of Mike Pence, so after everything went down on his personal Twitter account, they have official VP and president,
FLOTUS and,
FLOTUS, POTUS, Instagram handles, but then these people have their own personal Instagrams as well. And so on Mike Pence's personal Instagram, that evening after the riots, he had in the banner a photo of President-elect Biden and Kamala Harris.
Oh, for a hot second, didn't he?
Yes, it was a good hot second.
Oh, he was done with him.
Yes.
I will be too.
And I mean,
because you also at that point you still gotta like think about your career and like your allegiance, like it's politics. Knowing like a whole slew of people are about to come in who like thinks differently from you. You like he still gotta make a name for himself.
Yeah. Especially if the person you supposed to be making a name with throw you under the bus. At that point, I gotta think about like what I gotta do next. Fuck what you talking about. Now I'm getting in a boat. and I ain't fucking with you because you already kicked me off your boat.
But then it's just like it makes you question, and I mean I've been questioning these people's morals and whatnot. Like it's completely lacking. So we saw a ton of people step down after the event and say, they had to leave, and it's like
from like the Arizona count stuff. From the Arizona count, you said step. Oh, the resignation.
Yes,
oh,
the resignation and stuff, and it's like, why now? It's so like you're trying to save face. It's very last minute.
It's the last ditch effort. They got to do something.
But it's like that. For me, that says nothing, and so I can't imagine that there's anyone who was on the opposite end of things and not a Trump supporter and sipping that Kool-Aid who would see that as, oh, they're a good person. Where have you been these past 4 years?
I know, but this is like a little different and more extreme to me. I'm like, because like, I'm like, these is like our own people. Like, these are people we work with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
I'm like,
so fuck the rest of the people. Like,
but it's different when you know
all the millions of Americans.
It's different when you know somebody. It's different like when it happens right, and you didn't do anything. When it happens like right in front of us, and you did this to all of us. Yeah. You're like, I was there in the bathroom, and you didn't give a fuck about me.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Right. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the caliber of what happened changes as well. Like the 4 years and what was going on, nothing of this caliber has happened to make somebody be like, all right, this is going too far.
This hasn't happened since 1812.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm saying like everything leading up to it, you were complicit in all of it. Like everything that happened before this is to blame for this. You
but
know what
I
I'm
don't
saying?
think we also anticipated it going this far and them getting into.
You said I didn't. You was like, it's not shocking. You were.
No, I'm not. Just because it's not shocking doesn't mean we anticipated them to get into the Capitol building.
Yeah,
and act the way they acted. You know what I'm saying? That's a shocker to anybody.
But what did we expect? Like these people were.
I didn't expect that.
Up in arms and all excited and in the streets hollering over not being able to get their hair done.
Well, I'm like, for one, I didn't even think.
The same group of people.
I'm like, for one, I didn't think it was that easy to get into the Capitol.
I didn't either.
Right. I think it's the whole thing where, I think just the whole.
It's harder to get into Disneyland.
Well, Disneyland's hard to get into, child.
Disneyland's real hard.
Right. So I think that had a lot to do with it. Like, I didn't expect this to happen. Like, I really didn't.
Yeah. Like I expected, like riots and cars burning and
but
stores
not for them
being
to
broken.
go to the Capitol.
Not exactly, and go inside.
Yeah, I'm like, and to like put all these people
in danger.
I'm like, there's a difference.
Yeah, but I mean, clearly they don't care. They've been walking around without masks, coughing in people's face. Like that's putting people into danger
fair,
too.
But walking into a Capitol building with a machine gun is different than coughing in a nigga face.
I totally agree, but I'm saying like I couldn't put anything past this group of people. Like they've done everything that in my mind I'm like that is batshit crazy. I would never do that to anyone. You know.
Mm-hmm. Well, storming the Capitol. Well, like I guess with machine guns is a bit much, but I could see if there was
I would
a
never
world,
behave that way. Not for what they were fighting for.
Yeah,
I wouldn't behave that way.
Yeah, I was like, it was like something happened. It was like slavery is bad.
That's different. That's different. Yes, that's different.
I won't be on those stairs.
But
I'm gonna get around you niggas at first.
Yeah, I'm going. I'm running. Fuck that.
No, I agree with that. But like for what they were fighting for, I would like that was absolutely ridiculous.
Right, but if you like, you should think about the fact like we like before Trump, like a lot of these people were silenced to them.
Yes. Yes.
So like, everybody was shocked. I was shocked that all these racist people exist, right?
And a lot of people, I don't know if y'all follow the Black Bay Area on Instagram, but it was a lot of people from the Bay Area, Asians. I guess they have a black, yes. White, of course.
The black dude I was out there didn't really have good haircuts, so you knew them niggas wasn't.
They
wasn't niggas anyway. Yeah, they had no fades. Like your line is back here and it's a circle.
Right. I think one dude talking about fuck BLM. I said, sir.
Yeah.
I had all the stuff to say that.
Right.
BLM.
Right.
You talking about you.
Right.
I said if they had to turn on anybody in this group,
you the first one gone.
Exactly.
Damn.
Sir. Where was I going?
I don't know.
But I did. Oh, like because like these people were silenced.
Oh,
the
yes,
Trumpers,
yes,
the
yes.
racists. Like especially in the Bay Area, we live in like in a bubble. But knowing like all these people like voted for Trump and like came out of nowhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we like, oh shit, this is like legit. Like this is like real.
Mm-hmm.
And then like they got this insurgents.
Mm-hmm.
They already had power, but now like I got an actual platform to stand on. Like it's a leader.
One of us is in
Yeah,
the White House.
who can make all decisions. He got the Senate on his side and everything like that.
We
So-
run this country.
Right, and
Yes.
then like we about to lose this, and then they still pissed about Georgia too.
Yeah.
Like we thought, I thought they had Georgia in the bag.
I did
was
too.
nervous
Georgia
AF.
came
Yeah.
through.
It's about time, Georgia. Please keep voting. Like
Right.
Forever.
Right, y'all got the most black people
Anywhere.
everywhere. Yeah, so it's like we had all this power, and we're about to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do to get people would do anything to get power back?
And scare tactics is the most efficient way to get your shit back.
Right. To get people do anything. Scar killed his brother for power.
I know you're not for a lot.
But you know it happens a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm like people like kings and queens from like dynasties like killed brothers, sisters, dads, moms.
Yeah, and the thing is, the other
So like Nancy Pelosi,
right.
It's like I give a damn about her.
That bitch can go.
Right. And she 80.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the thing for us to kind of like take away from all of this is that those people, I think we do live in a bubble, not only just in California, but in this country. And like accepting the fact that those people exist and that we're not as progressed as we try to make it seem as we are. You know, we're past slavery and Jim Crow, et cetera, et cetera.
Barely.
Like a lot of people were living in that dream
I
after
think it's-
President Obama was elected.
I think especially in California too. I think
Oh,
this year
yeah.
we realized how much we aren't as progressive as we had thought.
Yes. And even when Trump is out of office, all of this is going to still exist.
Yeah.
It's probably
It might get worse.
too.
It could.
It could get
It
worse or
could.
can go back to silent again.
Yeah.
It could
I'd
until
almost
something
rather
else
it be-
kind of
Yeah, because like you
I'd
have
almost rather be silent. Like, just, I
I,
don't know.
at this
was
point,
bliss.
it's too
It was.
much.
Nice.
No, I was gonna say at this point it's too much. I'm ready to just like, for lack of better words, duke it out and let.
Never Civil War.
Okay, not a civil war.
I say, because all them white people in Texas, they got guns. California,
They got all
barely
the
got
guns.
shit. But we gonna die.
I call you, Cameron.
My little
But
ass handgun
I
ain't
feel
do
like
shit.
something has to give, and like the longer we sort of just act like it doesn't exist, it's just going to continue to fester until it just.
Until I die. Go ahead. Wait till I die.
Cameron, but then you have your family and your lineage. But anywho, that said,
Trump gonna take down this podcast. So.
isn't he?
He ain't got no power.
He can't get on anything no more.
Right, he ain't gonna see it.
With that said, remember to like, subscribe, follow us, and listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can watch our videos on YouTube. Leave us comments below what you think about freedom of speech. Should people be able to say whatever they want, whenever they want? There was another point I wanted
Not
to
on my
make that I
watch.
didn't make,
Oh.
but like
Y'all
people, I feel like we've gotten to a point where people feel like they're entitled to these different apps and platforms, but you're not entitled. You don't.
Right.
Twitter's not a right.
And it's free.
And it's free. You're lucky it's free.
Right.
But that said, remember to follow us at Next Topic Podcast on Instagram. You can follow and Facebook. You can follow me at Cool Keys, CoolKeyes on Instagram.
You can follow Shad on Instagram and Twitter at Shad_space.
You're not gonna spell it.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, you can follow me on everything at Clicks by Cam, KLICKSBYKM.
Well, thank you. Don't censor us. Listen to us. To the loop.
Peace out.
Bye.